AoC Meeting number 13. You may have noticed that the videos for 11 and 12 got skipped. 11 was skipped because we had to go to the summit right after, so there was no time to make a video, and 12 was skipped because we didn't have Adonis there to really give us the answers we needed. He was out sick. Another designer did his best, but he wasn't really able to give us any info we could pass on. I could quickly recap the two meetings, but at this point you already know basically everything we talked about in meeting 11 and 12 because of the balance talk vid I made. A lot of the info from those meetings was rediscussed in more detail in that video. Anyway, let's go into the meeting. First was some balance feedback on some of the more recent pressing topics. IO. A lot of people say IO is really weak. Many seem to be upset IO was put into ranked before being messed with. IO in reality is doing really well. I was surprised when I heard this. Dies the least out of all characters and heals more than any other healer in games. So this blew my mind. IO is forced to peak consistently in order to heal, and that makes her more vulnerable than the other healers, who can peak really quickly or heal through a wall. The constant LOS requirement makes it so it's more difficult to get consistent use out of her heal. They say IO does a lot, and I totally get that. IO's kit offers a lot, and I could see how that makes her powerful. But dying the least and healing the most definitely surprises me due to the nature of how her heal works. I'm not gonna argue with facts, but I'm wondering why none of that is really reflected in my games. If the IO is not dying a lot, her healing is normally lower, and if IO is dying a lot, well, her healing is also normally lower. At least that's what I've noticed from my personal point of view. Like we've seen many times before though, perception is normally not reality. Also, I'm not saying IO can't be hard to kill, because IO is definitely one of the harder supports to kill, but only when IO isn't continuously peaking while healing. And if IO isn't doing that, then not a lot of healing is going out. Regardless of her doing very well though, they do still want to mess with her LOS problem, because it does of course feel really bad, and in all honesty, fixing that is the only thing the character really needs. Along with fixing her alt clipping, and we'll talk about that in a second. Basically, what they're doing is they're allowing you to keep your heal on a target through a wall for 0.8 seconds. I did the math, that's like 750 healing through a wall before it breaks. A lot of the time, people peek for a second, you heal them for a tick before they go back behind a wall, and they keep doing that over and over until they die. With this adjustment, you'll be able to get off more sizable heals. It's definitely going to feel a lot better. I feel like it'll feel more impactful on squishies than tanks though. They said this is coming in an upcoming update, so I think it's next update, don't quote me on that. The other thing is her alt clipping. You guys have probably noticed that it's the opposite of Leon's alt. Leon's alt easily goes through many things, while IO's alt stops on everything. They don't have an immediate fix to this, but it is something they want to improve and fix. It'll take longer than the Moonlight fix though. Now for Androxus. I have been doing my best to get the new talent buffed for you guys, and it's happening. People love it because it's nostalgic, but they want it to be good and viable like Lex's new talent. Andro is getting ultimate buffs in the next update, so they want to see how that does before deciding how exactly to buff the talent, but after that they do want to do a pass on the talent. I also brought up how some people like the bonus ammo that Curse Cylinder used to give. Maybe you're not all that great at aiming and you miss having the bonus ammo to give you that bit of leeway. Well, I talked about possibly giving him a flat ammo card so those of you who want the leeway can have it. The only worry is you would be able to have 11 bullets if the card is at level 5. They don't know if they want to make that possible because that is a lot. But on the other hand, if you put 5 points into that, you are taking a lot of power away from Andro at the same time because he is a very card dependent character. So we'll see how this goes. I recommended swapping his reload speed card for this ammo card because, let's be real, no one uses it and it's in the same slot an ammo card normally would be. If this happens, it wouldn't be with the next update, and that's because all the balance for the next update is already locked in. For Nando, so I didn't talk about it in my balance talk vid, but Nando did have a buff planned for next update. However, it's only something with his barrier, I think it was barrier cooldown. Obviously, that's probably not what you guys want. I'm pretty positive you want something bigger, something more fun, so I've been attempting to get that for you. A big thing that people bring up is the new Hot Pursuit sucks because of the internal cooldown. That cooldown can't go away. Old Flank Nando is never coming back. He overperformed and ran people over. I know the card has been reworked like 2 or 3 times now, but I saw an idea going around for a final rework that I decided to send their way. Basically, hitting a target with your fireball would reduce the cooldown of your dash by like 0.5 seconds per level, so 2.5 at max a level. Sounds low, but this effect would stack. So if you get multi-hits, you can get resets on your dash. So if you're able to kite people properly and get multi-hits, you can earn some pretty crazy mobility for a tank. You can get a lot of dashes, and if you put the speed card after dashing on, you can have even more mobility that way. It would be earned mobility that doesn't have a constant uptime unless you're really doing something right. I think that would be a lot better than the current Hot Pursuit. Gives you a fun and aggressive playstyle, but not for free. Another thing was his Scorch talent. I told them since the constant speed is gone, Nando should probably have the base fireball bonus damage back on the talent, so Formidable isn't the only one worth picking. I didn't bring up Aegis because if you saw the balance talk vid, you know they're thinking about messing with Wrecker, and if that happens then Aegis could become good that way. I didn't want to jump the gun on that one. The last thing I brought up was Nando's self-slow. Very heavy 50% slow while firing. He's basically a melee character, so I brought up possibly lowering that slow. It of course cannot completely go away though. Now they didn't give a yes or a no to this stuff, but they are open to these ideas. They want to mess with Frontlines as a whole for the Season 3 update, and some of this stuff, or stuff like this, could be included in that for Fernando. Getting him buffed has been a real process to say the least, but I will not give up until you guys get the buff you deserve for Fernando. Another meeting topic that also has to do with balance was brought up later as well, focusing on forgotten characters. I put forgotten characters in air quotes because everyone has different opinions on what a forgotten character is. Skye was brought up but wasn't talked about because that was already in the balance talk vid. Same with Shaolin mostly. They want to do a pass on Sha, so to me that sounds like more than the withdraw cooldown buff I brought up. From what they're making it sound like, I think Sha is going to get the Willow treatment, where he gets multiple weak parts of his kit brought up. Grok was brought up. Grok does well, he's always done well, he's historically one of the best performing characters in the game. Then there was Ruckus and Buck, so we did end up getting a way better reason for them not wanting to buff Buck. You guys may remember that they said Ruckus is not a good character to have in the meta and in every game, and history backed that up well. Old DR Ruckus was horrible to play against. Buck is in that same boat. Think of the last few times Buck was good. There was one right after his rework, and one right after OB64 was removed, and he had all that DR on his heel. It was absolutely terrible to play against. Ruckus and Buck, while they can be good characters, they can't be meta, and they're always hesitant to buff them because they're very easy to break. There is room to improve them, but not by a lot. Buck is a super soldier. He has great burst, he heals himself, invades your personal space. By great burst, I mean he can burst you down like Leon and Cassie. It takes some more skill, but he can definitely evaporate you if the Buck is good, and since he invades your personal space on top of that, it often feels worse to players. So hopefully that reason sits better with you guys. I'm mostly with them on this. Buck and Ruckus's metas sucked. Having them back in the meta is not a good idea. However, I did say mostly not entirely. If you guys would like, I could push for some small stuff for Buck. More than an extra bullet, but nothing that's gonna force him into the meta. But I think we could all agree that Buck could use a few things to make him feel all around better. I also want to get them to do the same for Ruckus. Then in another topic, lackluster talents were brought up. There's a lot of talents that aren't good or aren't looked at as good. They do want to take some of these talents and improve them in Season 3. However, understand that just because a talent is looked at as bad, doesn't mean they 100% have to mess with it. If a lot of people play it, then that means they enjoy it, and it's okay to have talents that aren't meta if people like using them. Fun is obviously a very important aspect of any game. A big example of one is Resonance. I personally hate seeing that talent on my team, but I also would not want to take that talent away if many people enjoy using it. So I am with them on that. Let people have their fun talents, not everything has to be in the meta. Another topic separate from balance was map play rates. This has been a big community topic lately. Some maps spawn a ton, like Fish Market, and some don't spawn enough. So they do say there's definitely some confirmation bias with this. Basically what that is if you don't like something, you'll notice it more than you do like something. If you get Fish Market 3 times in a row, you rolled a 15% chance 3 times in a row, and that is unlikely. But you'll still notice it more than you would if you rolled a map you liked multiple times in a row. Now I get that, I agree with it to an extent, but I am a firm believer that map play rates still need to be adjusted a bit, and they do think there's room to do so with certain maps. It was suggested that they reduce stuff like Fish Market and Shattered Desert and increase stuff like Stone Keep, Frog Isle, Bright Marsh, and Jaguar Falls. Now guys, not every map is going to have an equal spawn rate. I can't think of a PvP game that I've played that does that. To put it simply, even though that sounds like it would make everything truly random, it wouldn't feel that way. And again, other games don't do that because of that. Now for lore. This is another big one for people. Basically what was brought up is that the community wants deeper lore for characters, more info on the races of the realm, a map of the realm, and even a new main music theme for Paladins. All the characters have very quick bios, but understandably people want more. They have done a better job at releasing lore since Rise of Furia, but there is room to do better. They're thinking of releasing lore snippets through social media to expand on current lore. Rewriting the lore isn't something that'll happen though. Now guys, I know some games have really good and elaborate lore. Keep in mind those games have teams that work on that stuff. Paladins doesn't. The lore is made by a few people in the team who also have other main responsibilities, and having a lore team isn't really in scope. But they do want to still give you more. As for the map, that takes a lot of work. They aren't really positive on how the realm looks either. They have all these different areas, but they've never put a map together. As for the main music theme for the game, updating it to feel more impactful is something they can discuss internally. The last of the topics was on visual reworks for Eevee and Maeve's faces. Okay, hold on, I know some of your hearts dropped hearing me say that. Relax, you have nothing to worry about. Let me explain. Obviously, the current art standard is a lot higher than the older art standards. Look at Io, her art is absolutely gorgeous. Then look at Eevee, her face isn't the best thing ever. Her portrait looks way cuter. In the past, they have updated characters like Victor. They said they landed on better art for the character, but got a bad reaction to it. For Sky, some people are still upset about her rework despite her looking way better. I'm with them on the Sky one. Sky's new outfit is infinitely better. They don't want to do any more of these though, but for new skins they can touch up the faces. They did that recently with Koga's new skin. So with Eevee they would likely do it too. And you all know Eevee has a skin coming in 2020. However, when it comes to Maeve skins, they probably won't do that, and that is because Maeve is very loved. I know I'd personally be upset if they messed with Maeve's face in any way. I still wish Demonette Maeve had Maeve's normal face. I think the Demonette face is worse than Maeve's normal face. The splash art looks phenomenal though. Now this next thing is something from AoC Meeting number 11 that you guys might want to know. On top of pushing for those pip buffs you guys are getting, I also pushed for him to have better fur textures and a better weapon and outfit. Because to be honest, it's pretty bland and a lot of pip players tend to agree. They're not going to mess with him for the same reasons I just stated, but again, if they make a pip skin, you can expect him to have some great fur textures. Also, for all of you thinking it would be another pepper skin, they do know you want Pip's next skin to be Pip. They feel you on that, and they agree. Anyway, that's the whole meeting. Let me know what you guys think of all that, and leave any feedback you have for future meetings down below for me as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it guys. I want to thank you all for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys laters. Bye.
My heart rages around like an ocean.